Well, we said this was going to be a tough August schedule for the Milwaukee Brewers. No shame dropping 2-3 to the St. Louis Cardinals. Brewers have been playing so well. Got to move on to Oakland. And this series won't be easy by any means. We'll tell you about that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good to have you along on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Chuck Freeman, proud host of Locked On Brewers, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin. And this is a Friday show. We're getting ready for the weekend, the 3-game series. The Oakland A's on tap. We're going to talk about that and wrap up this series with the St. Louis Cardinals and then move on. A's, a great coach once said, we're on to the next team. We're on to this team. We're on to that team. That would be Bill Belichick. Anytime they'd have a tough loss, we're on to Atlanta. And that's the way I look for the Milwaukee Brewers. We're on to it. Yeah, there's a couple of blemishes in this week's series with St. Louis. We're going to get to that coming up here in a little bit. Show's brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to PrizePicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use the all lowercase LockedOnMLB for that first deposit match up to $100. All right. It's not easy. The baseball season, none of these games. Baseball is just a different animal compared to all the other sports. And if you thought the St. Louis Cardinals were going to lay down and die and the Brewers were just going to waltz through St. Louis and roll that winning streak up, man, you know better. We all know better, being Brewers fans or baseball fans in general. And the Brewers won Tuesday night's game, and the next two nights, the offense is struggling right now for the Brewers. Put up 6 runs, scored those runs late on Wednesday. But you look, it's in Saturday. They've been floundering a little bit. They're in one of their classic dives right now where they're stranded guys on base and they're not getting much. And that's just the way it is. One guy who I'm really worried about, though, on offense, not that I'm worried about anybody else, but Garrett Mitchell. Man, that guy strikes out way too much. He's better. I thought he'd be better than this as far as discipline at the plate. Jim Gullhart on Twitter tweeted out, in his last 43 at-bats, Mitchell has struck out 23 times. That's over 50% of the time that Mitchell has struck out in his last 43 at-bats. That's just unacceptable, especially for a guy. Why is he hitting in the third spot in the order? And I feel like this third spot in the order has become a hole in this team. And this is where I wanted them to go out and get themselves a player before the trading deadline. Now, I don't want to start off being negative and being down on these guys or anything, because what they're doing is great. What they're doing is fantastic. But yeah, it was disappointing losing those final 2 games, Wednesday and then Thursday. They just look flat as a pancake. Flat as a pancake. Freddie Peralta ran into and this isn't on Freddie that they lost the game. They lost 3-0. Freddie, he ran into a high pitch count, didn't have a slider. And then Nick Mears, I almost call him Rick Mears, the auto racer. Nick Mears, he's had some good days and bad days. It was a bad day for him on Thursday. It certainly was. It looked bad. He was bad. And the Brewers lost 3-0, and they weren't going to counter that whatsoever. So at the end of the day, going into Friday, here's how the Brewers stand. Philadelphia got beat on Thursday. So the Brewers right now, with their 54 losses, are third right now in the chase for the top 2 seeds in the National League. The Dodgers were idle on Thursday. They have 52 losses. Philadelphia has 53. They're at Kansas City on Friday night. The Dodgers are home with Tampa this weekend, and the Brewers, of course, in Oakland. Dodgers are home again. Do they have like 90% of their schedule at home? I feel like every Friday night the Dodgers are home games. I know they were here for 4 games a couple of weeks ago, last week actually. But man, I feel like they'll go on the road for a short stint and then they'll come home for like a 15-game homestand. Got to check that out with the Dodgers. See how many home games they play. I don't think they play 81 home games. More like 120, I feel it is. They're home against Tampa. After just causing Seattle to fire their manager, sweeping that series. But Milwaukee, one game out in the loss column for that second seed. Philadelphia's sliding right now, and the Dodgers have moved in that top seed in the National League. All right. We're also going to talk to JP Hadron coming up here in a little bit. Both of us. It's a crossover. We did this earlier in the week from Locked On Cardinals. We'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. JD, he and I are going to combine. This is going to be one of our longer podcasts. So we're going to talk about this series and what's ahead for both of our teams coming up here in a little bit. But as far as Oakland's got the fourth worst record in baseball. They have a guy I told you I really like, Brent Rooker, who at the All-Star break, I was like, man, the A's are going to deal this guy. Let's get in on him. 29 home runs, 84 RBIs, real good players. Shea Langley's 22 home runs, also a solid player. Oakland is not going to be a pushover. May have the fourth worst record in baseball, but the Brewers aren't going to go in there and just don't expect the Brewers to go in there and just sweep these guys. If they do, it's great, but they're going to have to work for these victories. The pitching matchups this weekend, Savali pitches Friday, and Savali's coming off a nice game. He's up against JP Sears, who's pitching really well for them, 10-8. A guy they got from the Yankees. Saturday night, Colin Ray coming off a terrific performance last Sunday. Remember, he took a no-hitter into the sixth inning. So he's pitching against Joe Boyle, their rookie. But Sears, the pitcher who's pitching on Friday night, he's the ace. Joey Estes goes for Oakland on Sunday against the former Oakland A, Frankie Montas, who's also coming off a great performance earlier this week on Tuesday. Last time the Brewers won a game in St. Louis this past Tuesday. So, yeah, the Brewers are on a 2-game skid. I was afraid to look at Twitter, to be honest with you, because I know when the Brewers get multiple losses in a row, everybody comes crashing down on these guys. But what have the Brewers have always done? They've answered the bell, and they've regrouped. So, and I'm expecting that this weekend. Even if they lose Friday, they've never had more than a 3-game skid. I'm expecting the Brewers to regroup and get the job done this weekend. Blake Perkins reinstated. Tyler Black, who did nothing when he was here, sent down to AAA. I still never got an answer why Tyler Black was in the times he was in the order against the Dodgers. I mean, one of the best teams in baseball. And Tyler Black was batting third and fourth in the lineup last week. Don't understand that whatsoever. So anyway, don't be worrying about anything, Brewers Nation. 2-game skid. Obviously, would have liked to go on in there and take 2 or 3. It didn't happen. The Brewers very easily could have been swept in the series. If not for Frankie Montas on Tuesday night, getting it done, and then Williams almost letting it slide away in the 9th inning, but slamming the door shut. So there they are. Philly is floundering right now, but they go to Kansas City. Hopefully the Royals can keep that pressure on Philadelphia. Tampa going to Los Angeles. Hopefully Tampa can at least win one of those games out in LA. The Brewers finish up the road trip before coming home to a homestand next week against San Francisco. Like for the Brewers, at least take 2 or 3. At least take 2 or 3, but got to get the offense cranked up again. All right, JP Hadron. Talked to him right before we aired with this podcast. JP Hadron and I, we from Locked On Cardinals, we're talking about each other's team, and he asked me about how we're doing, having lost 2 straight games in St. Louis. I was afraid to go on Twitter, so I didn't after the game. After the game, sometimes you just want to stay away from Brewers Twitter.
Sure.
Packers Twitter, Bucks Twitter in this state, because, we lose a couple of games here in the state. And we've been down this road before with the Milwaukee Brewers, where they've lost 3 games in a row. And it's like people think that the slide is going to happen. And I know after these 2 in St. Louis, it's not like anybody's worried about losing this division, because that would take a monumental collapse.
Sure.
So much equity. But I think fans are always, I think there's always that in the back of our minds. Oh boy, because things are going so well. And then, they haven't been hitting. They scored 6 runs on Wednesday night, but for the most part, they're scoring 2 or 3 runs a game. Didn't score at all on Thursday. So Yeah, I think in the back of our mind as Brewer fans and as a guy who's covered the team, it's always like, oh boy, is this on the road for a 5 or 6 game skid? And in the terms of the division, okay, they can handle something like that, but not if you're trying to catch the Dodgers and Phillies and avoid that wild card round, which so I was telling you the other day, I'm desperately trying to avoid that. You guys feel you're back in it? Do you guys feel you're back in it, or at least the wild card?
No. I think we are very realistic about what's going on. I don't know if you caught any shots of what it looked like in the stands at Busch Stadium over the last 3 days. They set record lows for attendance, paid attendance, mind you, where they were at like 30,000, and then it was below 30,000 for the first time ever at Busch Stadium 3 when it wasn't like a pandemic affected game, where they fell under 30,000 tickets sold for the first time in this series. And then it just kind of dipped a little bit each game and was at its lowest, but there was probably half of that, maybe. What we were told was there was like around 17.5 were actually in the stadium for Wednesday night's game. And I don't even know what the numbers were on Thursday, but day games are kind of tough to figure out. I mean, it's hard to judge that, but still, the fan base has kind of said, we get it. It's over. We're checking out, and they haven't been coming to the games. And so I think as exciting as it was for the Cardinals to specifically Wednesday night's game was, that was a fun, dramatic walk-off win by Nolan Arenado. That was cool because we haven't had a lot of those moments this year. And then to get the shutout win on Thursday, as nice as they are, I think our fans are smart enough and they understand where they are. I mean, still 10 games back behind Milwaukee in the division as far as the wild card goes. We're still sitting at 5, which is not impossible because people are, the positive Cardinal fans have been hitting me up. Remember when the Braves lost that 10-game lead and the Cardinals snuck in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Old,
That was 11. I was telling you that the other day.
Yeah, and I'm like, I get it. And I want to stay positive, but there's also the realistic side of things where, like, if that doesn't happen or the Cardinals don't go on a 17-game winning streak like they did a couple of years ago, it's really going to be tough to make up enough ground in the wild card to come back and be a part of this playoff conversation. So we enjoyed it. We thought it was nice. We're not getting overzealous about it. Let's put it that way. So,
sure.
But it was fun. We enjoyed it. Walk-off grand slams by Nolan Arenado and seeing some passion in that game, getting the Luke and Baker home run in that game as well was a big thing. He was somebody they just called up and to face left-handers, and it just kind of worked perfectly in that game on Wednesday where he was able to tie it up. But, as soon as they did that, boom, the Brewers answered right away. I don't know if it took the wind out of the sails of the Brewers or they were just tired for the day game on Thursday, but it didn't look like the same team at all on Thursday. The at-bats were different. It just, there didn't seem like there wasn't a lot of energy on the Brewers side of things. Not that there was tons of it on the Cardinals side, but a little bit more coming off that big victory.
Well, I think the offense is somewhat of a concern because it's not consistent enough, and the Brewers go through these things, and I feel like they're going through one now since last Saturday night. They're going through one of these freezes, and I'm hoping, and Brewer fans better not think, oh, all right, they got Oakland on tap, because Oakland's going to give them some problems. Oakland's given a lot of teams problems. I think people think going into Oakland or you play the A's, it's just going to be, they're just going to lay down. They got some talent. Even though they made some trades, they got some talent over there. And their record isn't flashy, but they're going to play a spoiler and they're going to play hard. They swept the Brewers in a 3-game series. This is not going to be easy. I'm worried about going into those 3 games with Oakland this series. But pitching was there. It's funny, though, in this series, you said the Brewers heavily favored. And actually, 2 of the 3 games, the Cardinals were favored in this game.
Were they really?
The Cardinals were favored on the betting line Tuesday. They were favored Wednesday. The Brewers were a slight favorite today because of Freddie Peralta. Buddy of mine, who I like to talk out of his bad bets, because he likes to go against the Brewers when he senses things are going bad. So he calls me up on his way down to make a bet at the casino. And he says, I'm betting against the Brewers today. And I've talked him out of it majority of the time. Wednesday night, he said, you know what? They're not winning 7 in a row. And sure enough, they did. And then he calls me back again today. He goes, I'm going right back down there. They're not going to beat the Cardinals again. I said, they're going to bounce back, I think, the Brewers. So I've been wrong. Usually I'm pretty good at reading these guys, these Brewers, but I was wrong the last 2 days. I thought the Brewers would, keep it rolling a little bit. But again, credit the Cardinals, man. They play baseball too. One guy on your team, and I kind of took it to Twitter. How does Kittredge get anybody out? I feel like, JD, I feel like when I see him on the mound, he's like a position player going out there, just taking the ball and like just trying to throw it. I'm like, this guy's stuff isn't anything. How are people just not crushing this guy?
Yeah, I always said he has the wind up of like a dad throwing wiffle ball to his kids, where he looks like he could be holding a beer in the left hand and then the wiffle ball in the right, and just kind of nonchalantly just kind of whips it in there, and he's got some good movement on that sinker, and that's really his go-to pitch. I mean, you guys were still able to score off him, so I guess he couldn't have been all that good and impressive. But yeah, he's very relaxed. I remember seeing the first time I saw him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could see him in like some cutoff jorts and just like a tank top doing the same thing out in the backyard to somebody. So, well, you may not like Kittredge that much, but I'm going to force you to say some nice things, Chuck, because we're going to do a segment next, which we're calling it Say Nice Things. All right. We're going to explain it all to you coming up next on this Locked On Cardinals, Locked On Brewers crossover. The heat and humidity during the St. Louis summer, although it's been a little bit nice recently, usually no joke. Us natives know all about that. I don't know how much humidity you guys get up in Wisconsin, but
we probably have 5 days of humidity all summer.
Well, it affects us a lot down in the Midwest, a little bit more closer to the South. So it makes life tough, and it can affect you in negative ways, which means you should stay hydrated. You got to stay extra hydrated during the summers in St. Louis so you can enjoy the outdoor activities like going to Cardinal baseball games or going camping or going to amusement parks, whatever it may be. That's where Liquid IV can help. It's the ultimate weapon against the heat and humidity. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Liquid IV, it's more than just a drink, you guys. It is science-backed. It's a way to hydrate better than you ever have before. And it's delicious, which is great because, you've had drinks before where you're like, okay, this may be good for me, but this tastes terrible. Not with Liquid IV. So many flavors to choose from. I'm a big fan of the white peach. I like the tangerine. Rainbow sherbet, that screams summertime, right? Cotton candy. They also got their popsicle firecracker, which is a blend of citrus-fueled lemon lime, tart cherry, raspberry flavors. It's good for you. It tastes good. You can find it all on their website, liquidiv.com. Tear, pour, live more. One stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone with 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink and 8 essential vitamins and nutrients. No more thirsty summers, you guys, when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. You can get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades. That's SupplyHouse.com, in case you were unaware. SupplyHouse.com, it is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. And their easy-to-use website, it's just packed with helpful resources and the latest product information that's going to help you get the job done right, which is the ultimate goal. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, and you get your order delivered right to your door. They do it with fast shipping from coast to coast. And if you need help with your order, the beauty about going to SupplyHouse.com is that you get to talk to a real person. That's right. Industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business. They are real. They are not robots. They are not AI. They are actual human beings who will answer the phone and help you through it all. Pros in the skilled trades. You can also get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master, you get access to a dedicated phone line. You get free shipping and discounts on every order. It pays off. So join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Brewers your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On MLB podcast with our friend Sully, who is there daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, which is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. JP Hadron from Locked On Cardinals, Chuck Freeman from Locked On Brewers. It's time for the Say Nice Things segment, Chuck, and this is where we tell each other nice things about the other team, all right? And despite the fact that, the Cardinals took 2 of 3, you got to be nice, and you got to say a couple of nice things about either what happened in the game, a certain player, maybe it's something that happened during the game outside of actually play on the field. Whatever you want to say that is nice, Chuck, you get to go first. So things that stood out in the series that made you say, you know what, that was good. You're up, buddy. What do you want to say?
I like the arch. I think it looks pretty cool back there. I love the arch.
It is cool back there.
I love John Rooney. Nootbaar, I think. I think Nootbaar is, even though he's hitting, 230 or so, I think Nootbaar, don't give up on him. He's still got a lot of talent. Wouldn't quite give up on him just yet. Dylan Carlson's a little bit of mystery. I wouldn't give up on him. He's got the 19 home runs. I still would not give up on him. But
Nolan Gorman. Dylan Carlson got traded.
Oh, Nolan Gorman. Sorry.
Gorman's who you're talking about.
Yeah, Nolan Gorman. Yeah, Nolan Gorman, who struck out the end of the game the other night. Nolan Gorman, I wouldn't give up on. I'd give up on Dylan Carlson, but not Nolan Gorman.
He's in Tampa Bay. We don't care what's happening to him anymore.
I don't know why I got. So those are the guys. I think, it's been a down year for your team, which no one's going to cry for the Cardinals, as you know.
Yeah, they sure aren't.
You know what? There's the off season, and I think, you were telling me the other day that maybe this is kind of a wake up call for the front office that they need to get going a little bit.
Yeah, seeing the empty stadium is, when there's no butts in the seats and you're hurting the wallet of the ownership, then usually that's kind of when change is going to happen. It's we're tired of mediocrity over the last couple of years, and maybe ownership just needs a kick in the pants, and hopefully seeing all of those empty red seats will be an awakening for them. We'll find out. I don't know if it'll work or not, but at least the voices of the fans are kind of being heard here about like, hey, we're not interested in watching what you got out there right now. So,
well, when you say like 17,000 fans were there, remember some of those fans are Brewers fans too. So
it's true. It's true. I got a text from some people though, because they had read that and they were like, you know how many franchises would kill to have 30,000 sold on a Tuesday? And you guys are crying about it. I'm like, I know, I get it. But at the same time, it's weird for St. Louis to do that. That's
different
not
standard.
Normal.
Nope. You guys have set a standard, a certain bar, and that should be the bar. You shouldn't have to lower the bar.
Yeah, I agree. I applaud the fans, man. It's your money. You decide what you want to do with it. You don't like the product on the field, by all means, don't go. I don't blame you whatsoever.
Go,
all right, I'm going to say something nice about you guys, because there was a lot of things, and going back and forth with some of the Locked On Cardinals fans on Twitter, where we all kind of recognized a few things that were really nice about the Brewers. One thing, first off, the defense. Defense is so impressive. And they robbed Nootbaar of a home run in Thursday's game, but it just seems like they are so well positioned, like almost every single time, especially in that game on Tuesday. If there was a line shot that the Cardinals hit and got good wood on the ball, right at somebody, they were right there, or within a couple of steps. And it's such an athletic team defensively that the Brewers are fielding, which is going to make things really, really tough. You guys keep the ball in the ballpark, it's going to make it really, really tough for other teams to put runs on the board against you guys. So what do you guys feel like is the key to the defense that makes you guys as good as you are at it? Because I came away from that going, gosh, I remember those old Cardinal teams used to look like that.
Well, the Brewers are very strong from third to second. Rhys Hoskins has been playing well defensively, made a nice stretch tonight, I think, or this afternoon I was on a play that was, the call was reversed at first base. But second base, Terang, rock solid, A+ defender. Dominus, rock plus, A+ defender, rock solid. At shortstop, same with Ortiz over at third base. So, yeah, the Brewers have got speed, team speed, and athleticism.
Yeah, and Yelich not being out there in left field, I know it sucks losing his bat, but defensively, I mean, you guys are covering a lot of ground out there.
Sure. And Yelich could run. He can. He runs like a deer. I mean, it takes him 2 strides and he's halfway across the diamond. So yeah, they do miss Yelich in the middle. And like times like this, when the offense is bogged down, they could use a bat like Yelich in the middle of the lineup, because I feel like the third place spot in the lineup right now is kind of a big hole with these guys. But they are an athletic team. They're a good team. It's just a matter of are they good enough to win a World Series?
Well, you got about 6 weeks to figure that out, because they're pretty sure they're going to the playoffs. Another thing that stood out to me, I guess this is turning them in. I just want to say nice things about you guys. I am so impressed with the at-bats you guys take. That was something I could not take my eye away. The amount of foul balls that the Brewers, and I don't know if this is normal for every series, but at least in this one, exhausting.
I mentioned you said that on the podcast. I mentioned on yesterday's podcast that you would text me and send that, JD.
I mean, my gosh, dude, it's like they don't chase very often. They don't strike out a lot, and they constantly are battling and just fouling balls off. And, and they're not trying to do too much with the pitches, where I see and a guy that stands out to me that does this a lot, and it's just kind of his nature, is Wilson Contreras. His first swing normally is just like, I'm trying to hit it to the arch. It is as hard as he can to see how far he can hit it. And I don't get that a lot out of the Brewers hitters. If they see a meatball, they're going to swing hard at it. But it looks like they're always just trying to just hit the ball hard. They don't care where it goes, whether it's down the line and left, opposite field, you're trying to put it in the gap. They don't care. It's not about that. They're just constantly just trying to put it where you aren't. And it was wild, because in that game on Tuesday, it's not like the Brewers were smashing the ball all over the park, but they were constantly just putting it in where, they were, it was just beautiful hitting. And it was just their approach, all of it, very impressive. Like watching them when the other night on Wednesday night, they're up 6-4, and back-to-back hitters are threatening to put down bunts. They tried to bunt a couple of years, the Cardinals would never do such a thing like this. And, and the Brewers, they're just like, no, we're willing to, whatever it takes to get on base, we'll do it.
Yeah. Stealing bases, bunting guys over. This is something they did not do under Craig Counsell, but they're doing it under Pat Murphy, playing that small ball, getting on, getting him over, getting him in. That's what it takes to win ball games sometimes. Just sitting back and waiting for that 3-run home run. I just never liked that way. I just like, producing runs and then lean on your pitching staff a little bit. But that way of playing hasn't worked here in the last 4 or 5 days, but hopefully it always seems to turn around. The Brewers offense, I don't know if this is the way maybe because I just watch the Brewers every day, but is it with your team? Some days they'll just go through a stretch, JD, where 4 or 5 days in a row, they're the 27 Yankees. And then they come back and it's they're the 62 Mets a couple of days later.
No, the Cardinals have never looked like the 27 Yankees. Not this year. Not this year. You might have one game where everybody kind of goes crazy, but very, very seldom did that happen this year for the Cardinals, which has been kind of the problem, where it's been a lot of scoring 2 runs, 3 runs, and then you get a 6, and you're like, woo, here we go. We're going to heat up, right? No, right back to 1, back to 2. It's been very inconsistent most of the year. And I feel like if the Cardinals approach was more like the Brewers, where we weren't relying on the home run, which has been something the Cardinals have done a lot this year. There was a stat about in the second half of the season so far, nobody has relied on the home runs to score their runs more than the Cardinals, who don't have 40 home run dudes in their lineup. That's a problem. Yeah. That's a problem. You got to figure out different ways to score runs. They kind of did it on Thursday, which was nice to see, where, got a couple of hits from Victor Scott II. You saw him steal a base here and there, a couple of blue pits here and there. It wasn't all about the home run, and they looked like a more rounded baseball team when they look that way. So sure. I hope they can do more of that, to be honest with you.
Well, you guys look like a playoff team the last 2 nights. You really did. Thursday afternoon, the terrific pitching, coming from behind, battling. A couple of times you were down by 2 runs and you battled, and that's credit we like to, as Brewer fans, look at, our team blew this lead, but you got to credit that, you guys battled, and then, you battled against Devin Williams, and you got the job done with great at bats in the 8th inning and not swinging at garbage pitches. And then in the 10th inning, getting guys on, getting a guy courtesy runner, of course, is free, but the rest of the guys on, and then on a 1-2 count, Arenado goes Yahtzee, and that's the ball game right there. So
I'm glad you brought that moment up real quick. I'm going to put a picture up on the screen, and I don't know if you saw this during the Arenado at bat. This young man, this is another thing that we had that you didn't in this game.
Yeah. What's he do? What's this about?
This is who cares? He's a shirtless fan smashing a Bud Light still while watching the Arenado at bat. And I took this photo and I put it on Twitter. I was like, this guy's not giving up.
Yeah.
And 2 pitches later, Nato hits it over the wall. So we're calling this our rally shirtless guy.
Okay.
And we're hoping he's behind the plate more often in the future.
Needs something to build on, but I've seen that picture floated around a little bit on social media on Wednesday. It was pretty. I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Look at him.
Regular old.
He's just there having a good time. He's ready for football season. That looks more like a Packers fan or a Battlehawks fan for the St. Louis.
Yeah.
Than it does a baseball fan. And those are the rich people seats behind home plate. Like, those are the guys normally in polos and super white shoes. And
he was breaking all the laws.
And there he is. There he is. Just bringing home the victory. So that was another thing you guys didn't have for you in the series. So the power of the rally shirtless guy. So maybe get one of those in Milwaukee. I bet you could find a few.
I've seen them before in Milwaukee. I've seen it. They've been at Brewer games before.
Sure.
I'm not sure we want to go down that road to see that every game. But
I tell you what road we are going to go down, Chuck. We're going to go to what this series, how it affects our teams, and what the future holds. So we're going to give you guys a glimpse into the future coming up next on this Locked On Cardinals, Locked On Brewers crossover. Now, life gets busy for everybody. And even the most dedicated gym goers, they struggle with consistency. You've got the commute to get to whatever gym you're a member of. You got to deal with traffic. You got to find parking. You got to wait for the weights. Is this person ever going to get off their phone and quit using this machine? Then you got to clean the machines. You got the dirty people who don't clean the machines. All of it added up makes skipping a workout very tempting. But with Tonal, you can choose from thousands of workouts and train in a way that you actually enjoy, and you get to do it from home, where if you don't want to clean your machine, that is on you. But Tonal is the world's smartest and most effective strength training system that helps you get stronger, and it's powered by AI. Tonal learns with every rep, so it can deliver workouts that's personalized just for you. It's like having your own personal trainer at home with you, as Tonal will optimize every workout just for you. And unlike traditional gym equipment, Tonal uses adaptive digital weight to advance your training techniques. Like if you're lifting and you're like, should I go up another 5 pounds? Do I go up 10? What? I'm not sure. I don't want to get hurt. And that's smart. Tonal is going to help you through all that. And again, it fits your schedule. It's there when you're ready. Shave off the time wasted going to the gym and get right into your workout when you're ready. And right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code Locked On MLB. That's Tonal.com. Use the promo code Locked On MLB for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal.com. Promo code Locked On MLB for $200 off. Thank you for making Locked On Brewers and Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. Now go check out Locked On MLB podcast, which is our buddy Sully, helping you get prepared for the Fall Classic. He's got it all covered every single day. Find the link to Locked On MLB in the description so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Chuck Friedman from Locked On Brewers, JP Hadron from Locked On Cardinals here with you. All right, we talked about what the fans are thinking. What do you think is the effect that this series will have on the Milwaukee Brewers moving forward, considering coming into the series, you owned the Cardinals, and now you come away and you've lost 2 in a row to them. What do you think the team's feeling on this one, and how will they react to what just happened?
Well, the Brewers have these T-shirts that Pat Murphy made for them a few weeks ago called Undaunted. Undaunted. And that's what these guys are. These guys seem to take every punch. They might go through a little bit of a slide. They had a 3-game skid a week ago. And then they won the final 2 games against the Dodgers, swept Cleveland, won the first game in St. Louis. So we just got to chill out. I think they'll chill out. They'll move out in the Oakland. There's no off day here, coming off the getaway day. And I think they'll be just fine. But Oakland is going to give them a battle. It's not going to be easy. San Francisco is going to be here next week. This is a tough August schedule for the Milwaukee Brewers. So no shame at all losing to the St. Louis Cardinals. And I was looking at, I did take a look at Twitter, and some people thought the Brewers are just going to blast through this series. No, even though I said earlier, don't bet against the Brewers, it was not going to be easy. The Cardinals were just not going to lay down and die for the Milwaukee Brewers. So if Brewer fans thought that, they had another thing coming. But
that was something that our manager, Ali Marmol, said after the game on Tuesday, which was an excellent ball game. It was a tight game the whole time, and the Brewers came out on top. And that was one thing he said. He was like, look, they had the bases loaded. They had it all set up, man. They had their big guns, and Goldie and Gorman coming up, bases loaded, 1 out, and back-to-back strikeouts by Devin Williams. And, they're like, is this it? Is this going to devastate the guys to no end, where this is where they really fall apart again? And he's like, no. He's like, it's going to be a tough climb to get to the wild card and get to playoffs. We get that, but we are not going to quit. These guys are not quitters. They're working as hard as they can. They know that the results aren't where they need to be, but we're not quitting. Nobody here is quitting, so don't expect it.
And there was an at-bat that Arenado had, I think it was Wednesday night, stretched kind of a single. He could have taken a lazy single there, but he stretched it into a hustling double. And I don't remember what inning that was. I think it was toward the end of the game. But one of those things. And here's a guy who's got a guaranteed contract. I thought, man, legging that out on a team that, you might argue is not going anyplace, but legging that out and stretching into the double, I thought that said a lot right there to me.
It does, especially when like you mentioned, Arenado, a veteran like that. And, and we saw Paul Goldschmidt doesn't do a lot of media, but they talked to him after the strikeout on Tuesday night and how disappointing. And his voice is cracking because he's so upset about it. And that's one thing, fans get upset. Like, this guy sucks. Why is he playing? Blah, 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 blah. They know that they're going through a tough time. It's not like they don't care. Like, these guys really do care. They interview Arenado after the walk-off grand slam on Wednesday night, and they're like, that had to feel good. He's like, I know that I have not done a good job this year. And he's like, and all I can do is keep plugging away. And, today was a good day. And this was nice, and this was a great feeling. We needed it. And that's the one thing about it is, like, a lot of these guys, we love them as players, and it's it's unfortunate that the performance hasn't lived up to what we thought it was going to be this year. But, you give them credit for going out there and playing hard and showing up each and every day and doing the best they can. And maybe they're just not a good team. Maybe that is just the way it is. Mm-hmm. It's not motivation. It's not the manager's fault. Maybe the guys, it's just not a good team. And that happens.
You said Goldschmidt doesn't do a lot of media. He's not talking to the media after games. He's doing one of those things.
He's just a quiet guy. He doesn't do a lot of interviews after any games. It's not, and that was the thing is like, oh my gosh, he's going to talk to us after one of his toughest at bats of the year.
And people wonder why MLB has got, because you never see that in the NFL or in the NBA, but you see it in Major League Baseball still. Some of these guys, they don't want to talk to the media, and they don't want to get out there, and they want to go hide in the trainer's room.
But he's the same too. Even when he won the MVP and he was creaming the ball, he was still not the guy that to go for the soundbite after a game. Like he's just
the faces of that franchise though right now. I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, and then as far as the Cardinals going on into the future, we get to go to play another playoff team. Chuck, we're off to go see the Minnesota Twins.
Oh, okay.
And have you guys faced them this year?
Played them a couple of times. Won 2 games up there right after the All-Star break. Played 2 games up there and split with them. Twins are actually here on opening day for the Brewers. So way back in April. Split a 2-game series here. Won 2 games out there and right after the All-Star break, and I was like, man, here we go. And but the Twins play good baseball. Yeah, they're a good team. That's not going to be an easy series. They play in an open air stadium, which I never would have guessed why Minnesota would have
Minnesota
an open air stadium. But it'll be a fun series. But if you have, in August like this, it's okay as long as you don't have a rainstorm moving in.
Right. Well, it should be interesting because it's just another test for the Cardinals. I mean, if you're gonna squeeze into this thing, you're gonna have to beat the good teams because I got a lot of them lined up here for the rest of August. You will have Andre Palante on the mound on Friday, and then it's Sonny Gray back at his old stomping grounds of Minnesota on Saturday against Pablo Lopez. So that should be a pretty cool pitching matchup. But the Cardinals are going to be up there for 3 games. Then you get Eric Fetty on Sunday, and the same mindset going into this series against the Brewers. These teams on paper are better than you right now, but if you can catch a streak, which they were able to get 2 in a row here against Milwaukee, these were big wins. Psychologically, I think they were big wins to finally beat the Brewers. I mean, they only had 1 win against them so far this year. So to get them twice, maybe that, as when I said earlier, a kick in the pants for ownership, maybe it was a kick in the pants for the players, and they'll kind of come together now that they've gotten a little taste of winning.
I think if the Brewers would have swept this series, if they would have won on Wednesday and somehow won on Thursday and swept St. Louis, I think that would have really decimated the Cardinals. It would have Cardinal fan base for sure. That
would have been all right. We're benching all the veterans, bring all the kids up time where there's we don't need to see anymore. We've had enough. It's over. Turn the light off when you're done. But now man, they're feeling a little good. They've made some roster moves, and they were able to beat a very, very good Milwaukee Brewers team twice. So why not keep it going and go take them out in Minnesota? That's the idea. So, well, we wish the best of luck to you guys in Oakland because we know we're not going to catch you in the division, but, maybe we'll see you in the playoffs at some sort. And we still got to play each other one more time in Milwaukee. We're not done yet.
I do not want to see you guys in the playoffs. I'll tell you that. I did in 2011, JD, when you guys beat the Phillies, and I was doing sports talk in Milwaukee, and we were like, oh, great, they beat the Phillies. Oh, we're going to roll right through St. Louis. That worked. So I never want to see the St. Louis Cardinals in the postseason. Bad things happen to the Brewers.
Well, in regular season, and maybe obviously it'll mean something for the Brewers, who continue to fight for one of the top seeds in the National League. So we will meet up again then and have some conversations.
You bet.
All right. Thank you guys for making Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Brewers your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on Twitter, X, both me and Chuck available there. Of course, the podcasts are on there as well. Like, subscribe on YouTube to both of our channels. And, we'll see each other in the future. Thank you for being a part of this Locked On Podcast Network crossover, your team every day.